Hi, I'm Emily.
I'm Corey.
Hi, I'm Jalen.
Today we'll be talking about the Swiss franc, which is the main currency in Switzerland. Switzerland is surrounded by a lot of major countries in Europe, such as Germany, France, and Italy, which makes it optimal for trading.
So here's some info about our country. The population is 7.9 million. There's roughly 8.6 million visitors per year. 80% of people aged 15 through 64 are employed. 84% of men are employed, and then 75% of women are employed. 88% of people aged 25 to 64 have finished high school. 90% of men have finished high school, and then 86% of women have finished high school. The currency in our country is the Swiss franc, abbreviation CHF. Countries that use the franc: Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Campione d'Italia, and then denominations include bills and coins. The bills range from 10, 20, 50, 100, and then 200, and then 1,000 francs. The coins range from 5, 10, 20 rappen, which is like cents in the US, and then 1/2, 1, 2, and 5 francs.
Okay, so here is a timeline of the Switzerland franc. In 1848, it was declared the official currency of Switzerland. In 1850, the Swiss franc was on par with the French franc. In 1865, Switzerland became a part of the Latin Monetary Union, which includes France, Italy, Belgium, and Switzerland. In 1945, Switzerland became a part of the Bretton Woods system, and it was pegged to the US dollar at 4.375 Switzerland francs per dollar. In 2008, the Switzerland franc was valued higher than the US dollar. In 2011, the Switzerland franc dropped sharply after the country's central bank pegged it against the euro. In 2015, it removed the peg on the euro and the value was increased. Here is comparing the Switzerland franc against different currencies. The US dollar, the Great Britain pound, the euro, and the Japanese yen. The main thing that I want to point out in this chart is that in 2015, against the Great Britain pound, because it had been pegged against the euro, it's less, and once it goes to 2017, it increases again after the peg was taken off. This is a line graph comparing the Switzerland franc with the US dollar, Great Britain pound, and the euro.
Here's Switzerland's balance of payments. The current account balance was responsible for 14%, 14.90% in 2010, and decreased after 2011 when the Swiss franc was pegged against the euro, and you see it rise back up in 2015 when it was unpegged. In the current account balance, there's a surplus throughout all the years, which is good for the economy and probably due to the trading. Net capital account, there's a deficit in most years except for 2013. Net errors and omission, there is a surplus except for in the years of 2011 and 2014.
So the Switzerland economy is one of the safest economies in the world. About 28% of all offshore funds are banked in Switzerland. Their international trade, they do have imports and exports. Their exports are metals, chemicals, watches, machinery, agricultural products. And then their imports are vehicles, metals, textiles, and then they also import machinery and agricultural products. They have little purchasing power due to the wide use of a resource currency. It's considered a safe haven for investors. It's strengthened during the global recession in 2009. It attracts significant foreign investments as well. The currency trading range is 80 to 60 US cents. And
Also, it's significant to mention that Switzerland franc doesn't really have much inflation in the currency, which is also why it's considered a safe haven for investors.
here is our work cited for all the sources we used.
And thank you for your time.
Balancing the books for a whole country is no easy task, even for one as economically stable as Switzerland. Take, for example, the cost of infrastructure. Even though maintaining roads and railways, schools and hospitals is more or less constant, the money to pay for it isn't.
Income, mainly in the form of taxes, can peak or dip alarmingly depending on general economic conditions at any one time. During boom years, the state can rake in a lot of money, since more people have jobs and regular wages, and companies pay more taxes on greater profits. But that money supply can dwindle during economic downturns.
So when things get tight, governments can always borrow money. This is what Switzerland was forced to do up to and including the early part of this century. A severe recession was followed by some big bills to beef up state-owned companies, such as the Swiss railways. The result was more public debt, which ballooned from 38 billion francs in 1990 to 130 billion by 2005.
But debt comes at a price. Interest payments have to be made to the people who lent the money. This is additional expenditure that can't be used to improve the roads and railways, schools and hospitals. And if a recession rears its ugly head again, that mountain of debt looms even larger. That's where Switzerland's form of direct democracy comes in. In 2001, the government asked the people to vote on a so-called debt brake, a system designed to reduce the debt burden. And the plan was accepted. The debt brake was implemented in 2003.
From that point on, what went out, in the form of public spending, could not exceed what came in the form of tax income. In this way, debt levels would not rise, but the debt brake rule didn't stop there. All existing debt must be gradually paid off during economic boom years. So how is that done? Rather than focusing on balancing the books in any given year, the whole economic cycle is looked at more broadly. In other words, the boom and downturn periods over several years.
In good times, the government's books must be in the black by the end of the year. And in years of economic downturn, the government is allowed to go into the red. At the end of the cycle, the books must be balanced and show no increase in debt burden. The surplus is then used to pay off the debt.
So how has Switzerland fared more than 10 years after its people decided the debt brake was such a good thing? It was trimmed down by about 20 billion francs by the end of 2012.